Hello everyone. So today we're going to talk about a very important topic in forensic mental health. We'll be discussing psychopathy. Psychopathy is not a diagnosis as far as DSM is concerned, because that's not a typical pathology, that's not a clinical disorder, but that's a very important construct from a forensic mental health perspective, because the people who are classified or labeled as psychopath, typically we have heard a lot of, we've seen a lot of movies around like psychopath serial killers, right? So there's a myth that most of the psychopaths would be some kind of serial killers, which is not true most of the times, because as a matter of fact, most of the psychopaths are not serial killers. Psychopaths often have a superficial charm, so like someone who is very charming personality, right? Someone who has a grandiose sense of self-worth, like they think of themselves very highly, they think themselves superior than the rest of the populations. Also, they have a need for stimulation and proneness, so they get bored easily, and they need some kind of activities around them or most of the times. Also, they have this pattern of pathological lying. Oftentimes they tend to lie without any obvious gains, so it's like more pathological in nature, and they are cunning, manipulative. They obviously manipulate people around very easily, and deceptive in nature, and also they have a lack of remorse or guilt, so they don't feel guilt at all. So if they engage in any kind of bad action, they won't have any remorse for it at all. Also, they have very shallow affect, so they don't feel emotions very deeply. They are very superficial about their relationships as well, and oftentimes they struggle because they cannot connect with the other person. They also lack empathy, which means that they cannot feel from the other person's perspective. They cannot put themselves in another person's shoe, essentially. And they have a parasitic lifestyle usually, which means that they would like live on other people, they would depend on other people, they would not actively doing things to make an earning, or but like obviously there are differences in people as well. There's another thing called successful psychopaths, which may not be doing that thing. Also, most of the psychopaths have poor behavioral controls, so which means that they could be impulsive, engaging in different kind of acts without thinking, and they also have oftentimes promiscuous sexual behaviors, which means that they're very casual about it. They could have multiple sexual partners, and it also has to do with them not able to develop kind of deep emotional relationships with people, because they are very superficial, as I said previously. They usually have a history of juvenile delinquency, which means that as a child they were engaged in crimes, some kind of criminal justice interaction, and they usually also have some kind of early behavioral problems with conduct as well. They usually lack a realistic long-term goal, which means that no ideas on where they're going heading in life in general. And also they have impulsivity, irresponsibility, and they usually find it hard to accept responsibility for their own actions as well, so they often blame other people's for their own actions. And usually they have a criminal versatility, which means that they would engage in a bunch of different kind of crimes that would be like very diverse in nature, because obviously, as I mentioned, that they get bored easily, and with all of this personality that we're coming up with, it's hard for them to engage in a similar kind of crimes. They usually have like more diverse kind of crimes, and usually there's also some kind of a revocation of a criminal conditional release, so means that they could be released on a parole, and they could be the parole could be revocated because of their behaviors. So that's how what a typical psychopath personality looks like, and it's not a disorder, as I said, from DSM's perspective, but it's obviously a very important construct in forensic mental health, because we have seen people, a lot of people who are high on psychopathy. It's correlated with a lot of different crimes that they get involved in, a lot of institutional misconduct, especially those who are incarcerated. And also, I want to mention that psychopathy is not an illness, and it is not true that someone like, but most people are at some level on the spectrum of psychopathy, which means that every one of us has some level of psychopathy. We may not be classified as a a quote unquote psychopath, but we are at some level on the spectrum. We all are. So that's what psychopathy is, and we'll be talking more about it in an upcoming training as well. Thank you.